Our X-Files. Welcome to our X-Files Vault. Regular people talking about unexplained phenomena. UFOs. Ghosts. Cryptids. Hidden archaeology. Weird science. Our stories. Our takes. Our X-Files Vault.
Manila-based graphic novelist Kolo combines his passion for horror and mythology into chilling works of art. An award-winning writer, Kolo infuses his work with local flavor, offering global audiences a glimpse of the Philippines culture through his ongoing comic anthology. This is Hollywood X Vault. I'm Lise, and tonight I have the pleasure of speaking with Kolo himself. Thank you, Kolo, for coming on the show.
Hi, pleasure.
So if I may jump right into it, I and many of our listeners are based in North America. Could you tell us a little about your comic work and its cultural elements?
So I'm based in the Philippines, right? So it's what I know and it's how I write because it's what I've grown up with. And basically, mythology and folklore specifically is just like embedded into the culture of like everyone who lives here. So it's not that hard to like pick up topics to like write about on or like make content with. It's kind of like cathartic to make content based on your like upbringing and based on your culture and based on what you heard when you were like little. And yeah, it's pretty fun to.
It sounds like you grew up around people who were at least somewhat believers in myths and legends. Does that sound about right?
Oh yeah. Well, my parents and like older people around me were like heavy believers of the supernatural. Even my mom was when I was growing up. She was telling us stories about what she was seeing, and she used to tell us that she had a third eye open, and she would constantly like tell us ghost stories about in the province where there's not much like civilization going around. There's a lot of like weird stuff happening in there, and that inspired my writing, I think.
Would you say that there is potential for Philippine mythology to become popular in the West as well?
Oh, absolutely. With the recent like Netflix release of Chese, I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but I think that's a gateway medium to like check out if you want to like get a glimpse of what Philippine mythology or culture or like folklore is. And there's a lot of like very amazing writers and comic artists in the Philippines that mainly work on like mythology and folklore, and I definitely think that can get more spotlight in the West. But yeah, let's see what happens in the next few years, but I'm very hopeful about it. Yeah.
Your comic anthology, which is currently ongoing, is hosted on a webcomic site called PenLab, yes?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
To my understanding, PenLab highlights Filipino creators specifically.
Yes, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Would you say that websites and anthologies such as the one you've got on PenLab are rather helping broaden the audience that Filipino works have, especially Filipino works rooted so much in the cultural elements like the mythology and the supernatural?
I do think like especially nowadays, no, like this pandemic specifically, it's before that we used to like get our comic stuff in person, like in conventions, stuff like that. But right now it's kind of hard to like meet people and like get stuff. So it's pretty great to have like a platform that you can like just visit anytime, and there's a like huge catalog of stuff that you can read, and it's free, and there's a lot of stuff in there. There's a lot of great stuff in there, and I'm really glad that we have Pen Lab to like support our artists and writers.
You mentioned that in childhood, even your parents were firm believers in the paranormal. Would you say you've had any paranormal experiences firsthand?
Yeah, there's this one big. I wasn't a believer, quote unquote, before. I was kind of like a skeptic. But when I was in Vietnam with friends, there was this like hotel that we stayed in that was kind of like weird. We were the only people there, despite it being like 3 floors and stuff. And there was this one night where we heard like screaming in our room, like this blood curdling screaming from a woman, and that wasn't coming from outside because the glass was like, I'm not sure what you call it, but sound wasn't coming in. It was soundproof, and everyone. I thought I was like having a nightmare. I was like shaken up. I woke up suddenly. I was like, what was that? And in the morning, I just found out that every one of us heard that, and even the next person beside me in the next bed was having more experience than me. Their bed was shaking, and I was like, "Oh no!" I thought I was dreaming, and we all experienced that. And the next day we went out to buy like incense and stuff, and then just um, did our stuff to like get rid of whatever negative energy was staying in there. Yeah.
Have you ever told that story to other people and been received with skepticism, or are most people pretty accepting?
Well, to begin with, I was a skeptic, and I was like trying to find out what that was. Maybe just some person below our floor. I don't know, but um, I've been public about it. I even like posted about it on my Twitter, and people were mostly like creeped out, and especially my friends. I can say that when you have more people that have witnessed the same thing, it's because it becomes more legible than having experienced it yourself. So whenever someone asks me like, "Is this real?" and then I'm just like, ask my friends. they have We've been in the same. We've experienced it together, so it's pretty real. Yeah.
Has this experience ever inspired a story for you, or do you plan on mining this experience for future work?
Well, it was brief, and I couldn't like. I wasn't that. I didn't. I don't really like recall a lot of what happened, but after that, there have been like, we call this. I don't know if they were like supernatural experiences, but the previous apartment that I was living in was kind of I wouldn't say haunted, but that was the reason why I moved out, because I couldn't sleep at night. There was some knocking. I was sleeping on the second floor, and there was some knocking on the side, like from the first floor, from the ceiling of the first floor. So I was like, are there like people dancing on the ceiling? So yeah, there's maybe I could write some stories about it. The first book that I've written was actually a dream that came to me. But that wasn't based on like any experience that I've had so far. Yeah.
What inspired you to release an English translation of your short story, The Midwife of Santa Maria?
Currently, I'm actually like working as a comic colorist for a company in LA. And they wanted to see the stuff that I got that I worked on, and most of it was in Filipino. So I was like, I'm not sure if you can understand this. So yeah, I took it to my own hands to translate that first book. Hopefully the second book, but it's hard to translate a song. So yeah, I translated the first book so that it could be more accessible for non-Filipino speaking people. Yeah, for the West specifically.
It sounds like that particular opportunity was what motivated you to translate your work. Do you think you'll be translating any future work regardless of its relation to overseas employers?
Yeah, I'm actually currently working on a myth graphic novel, and it's all gonna be in English. So yeah, it can take a while to like, because it's gonna be published by an actual publisher. It's not self-published. So it's gonna take a while, but yeah, it's in English, and hopefully it gets into the hands of like Western readers. Yeah.
Are there any particular elements of Philippine mythology that you'd like to include in future works, especially those that might make it overseas?
I am really obsessed with our like pantheons, the gods. That's what I'm writing about. What's the graphic novel that I'm working on is about. Specifically in the Visayan region where I grew up in. It's really great because I want people to see the parallels between Greek mythology and all the mythologies, the famous mythologies we have, with our local mythology. It's pretty similar actually. The stories, the creation myths, it's all like, it seems like just one person wrote all of this stuff, and all the variations just came together.
You're both a writer and an artist of horror material. Does writing it or drawing it unsettle you most?
I think honestly the hardest part is writing for sure. It takes more time and energy to complete something in writing than in like drawing. I've been drawing since I was 6 or 7, so it's not much of an issue for me, but writing is a whole new different arena to step on. Yeah.
Going by the positive reception of The Midwife of Santa Maria, your writing seems to be quite a strong suit.
Actually surprised by that because I haven't received any awards based on my writing. It was the first time that I got an award just from my writing, and I was very surprised that I could like write something that is eligible for any awards. Yeah.
Is there any advice that you, at least at this point in your career as an artist and a writer, give to a budding artist or writer who's interested in tackling the horrific or mythology as well?
I'd say just write what you know, and if you have like one thing that you're interested about, like a specific creature, a specific god, you can just look it up or ask people, but basically just write what you know. That's the best advice that I could give anyone who's writing or like creating anything.
Well, thank you very kindly for your wisdom tonight, and thank you for sharing your cultural perspectives on the horror genre. It is fascinating to have so many new works coming out from all over the world through online platforms such as PenLab, and I, for one, am looking forward to future installments of your comics anthology. We'll be sure to keep people posted on as it releases.
Yes, thank you. I'm pretty excited as well. Thank you for inviting me on this stream. I didn't expect it. Thank you.
And thank you for coming.